Thank you, Captain Hickey. Now I give you Dr. Lipov from Chicago. Please come forward and tell us about the Stellate Ganglion Block.
Thank you. For better or for worse, I was the one who originated starting to do stellate ganglion blocks for PTSD. Not familiar with SGB, it's essentially an injection in the neck. I did a mild modification of the block to make it safer and easier to do. So the first time stellate ganglion block was done was 1925. It's a well understood block. So basically associated risks with this. There's only one study that's been done on this. It was done in Germany in 1992. This is prior to any guidance techniques. So the chance of serious complications they felt was 1.7 out of 1,000. In reality, they got information on approximately 38,000 people in Germany that year. Nobody died, and primarily they had 14 seizures, nothing major, at least from my perspective as an anesthesiologist. So this is the timeline so far, and I'm going to add a little bit here, but it's not published data, so military medicine didn't want me to give any details, but I can give you a little overview. So 2008 was the first time we published on a patient. He was not military, he was a victim of a crime. 2010, I published another article, and then Dr. Mulvaney and Walter repeated this similar results. We treated 2 patients, and he published on that. And then 2012, Dr. Hickey published an article, and I did as well. And in 2013, there were a couple of interesting articles. Again, Dr. Hickey published one. Thank you again. There was one for me, and this is a very interesting article by Dr. Alino. He's a psychiatrist, at least he was a psychiatric resident at the time, I think, in Tripler Hospital. So he reported on 4 patients. Case number 2 was a patient who was suicidal for 2 years. Anyway, so Alino had a patient, case number 2, who was suicidal in and out of psychiatric institutions for 2 years. So he did a stellate, and the patient became non-suicidal the next day, which was pretty interesting. And I'm more than happy to discuss why, how, and all of that. It has definitely been my focus. This is one of the things we discussed. At that time, we had 83 cases. To date, I've treated 150 patients. The paper that's going to be published in Military Medicine in about 2-3 months has 166 patients or more, and they had a similar response to mine, over 70%. But that's all I can say. All the usual. So a couple other things that we were able to look at, and again, the ends had been small in some of those things. This was one patient who had severe alcohol abuse disorder. His memory was shot, and I was able to measure his memory relatively well, neuropsychologist. And following stellates, he was able to stop drinking completely, and his memory markedly improved, and he became a functional unit of society. He's full-time employed still. He's been 2 years out, and he has a 6-month-old. Our results have been reduction avoidance and hyperarousal. A lot of times we do need to repeat the block about 3 to 6 months later. But one of the big things that has been discussed before is compliance is a major issue in all therapeutics. The great thing about compliance with stellate ganglion block, if somebody is coming in to see me, we've got it on the table, they're getting the block. There's no compliance required. And they feel immediately better. When they walk out, they go, I feel so much better, which is really cool. In my hands, I would say that our success rate's been in the mid-70s, 70%. And we've actually had some pretty amazing results. So we've treated so far about 150 people, 1/3 were military and 2/3 were civilian. So this is Walter Reed. This was the first 2 cases that Sean published. He continues to do those procedures. He really likes the effect of that, and patients have done well. This is the one published, and you can see the PCLs. There was a study also done recently in another VA that's not out. They used caps, and they had similar results. So this is I don't know why Tripler Hospital is pink, but I found it interesting. So case 2 is the case I was referring to. What we found to be interesting is that people who have the worst PTSD, as measured by PCL, seems to be the best responders. And if you kind of look at the numbers, it's similar to what they say. PCL was 85 to start and 18. This is 2 days later. Case 1, they started 64, it was 22, and you can see the difference. But it has been consistent. We also found, this is anecdotal, there's no specific data I can point, it has not been published at this point. But we find people who are older than 55 seems to have a better response. Under 20 don't have almost any response. It's kind of interesting. Whatever that means. This is the naval study, and I don't think I can really talk to it much. I think it's still ongoing. There is some methodological entertainment going on, I think, but I don't know much about it, so I'm not going to quote it. The potential mechanisms is one of the main contentions why I had some issues getting funding. There certainly could be multiple reasons for that. I'm a proponent, this is an NGF phenomenon, and I've written a few times on that.